Hi.
Hi.
I'm Nick.
I'm Jill. And we're Hipstrings.
Welcome to the final day of the Base12 2023 Spinalong.
Day 10.
Day 10. No, not day 10. Day 10.
10.
I'm not sure if you would call it 10 in Base12. It is 10. So it's kind of 10. I mean, what is it the when you go to 1B, is it the 1Bth day?
I guess.
18th?
18th.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, today
18th.
is day 10. 18th.
18th.
And so that's the final day. This has been a wonderful journey. And so you are spinning your day 10 bag.
Yeah, if I can reach my bag.
And it so turns out that I'm spinning day 1, completely randomly. Maybe next year I should just go in reverse order. That would be fun.
Look, it's what Nick was spinning yesterday.
And now we can tell you what it is.
It's Pacific on Rambouillet silk. So it's an 80% climate change beneficial Rambouillet wool, domestic, with 20% Tussa silk. The Tussa silk is not domestic.
And I am going to be spinning the abalone hand-carded bat, which is 50% merino, 20% Shetland, 10% Tussa silk, 10% tencel, and 10% mulberry silk. And what I'm going to suggest, actually, before you get too far into spinning, is we should actually open up our drinks.
Yes.
Because we have special individual portions of the
Trogs Grand Cru, which is like really fancy Mad Elf.
Yeah. Ale brewed with honey and cherries. And I hope this doesn't like fizz over when we open them up. Ready? You ready?
Working on it.
You're supposed to be the one with the better grip strength. All right.
Okay, ready.
Go. That was a weak pop.
Wow.
I was expecting it to be much bigger with all that buildup. Anyways, cheers. Thank you for joining us for
It's been a lot of fun.
All right, so now we can get into it. Because I can't open that certainly while spinning.
Oh man, that's sour.
It is. It's got the cherries. And for some reason the chat has defaulted to a top chat instead of the live chat. So
yeah, I want to see everybody.
Amy is spinning day 5. All right.
So have you been enjoying having smooth bats to spin instead of textured bats?
I have been enjoying them, but I have been missing the texturing. The texturing gives me
smooth year.
Yeah, right. The texturing does give me an opportunity to have some wonkiness in my singles, so and I can blame it on the texture. Amy is toasting with hot chocolate, and Stephanie is saying hello.
So is this the first year you've had a woolly winder?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe that's part of the reason for our increase in speed is with operating on woolly winders.
That's true. But I'd say the ratio of me winning versus you winning is about the same as
I think it's been pretty even.
It's about 50-50. It's almost like we're well matched.
Yeah, I think we are.
We go well together.
I taught you well.
Yeah. Now the student has become the master. No, not yet.
Can you do things on purpose?
It depends on what things you're talking about.
In regards to hand spinning.
There's some things I can do on purpose. I can control thickness and thinness on purpose, and I do know quite a bit on how to adjust. I'm no longer a novice. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a master, but
You're a journeyman?
I am intermediate, let's say.
No
Stephanie said
noob.
that she spun abalone the other day, and it was a very cool spin. Yeah. I am enjoying it as well. But yeah, I would say, much like my yoga skills, they're intermediate.
Yeah.
Which, my yoga skills are nothing to laugh at.
I'm just happy because the daily spinning, my hip and my knee is no longer bothering me.
Yeah. Well, you've talked a lot about how, maybe you haven't talked, we haven't talked about it this year. You tell me a lot about how spinning actually ends up being a almost physical therapy for you.
Yeah, so I've got back issues, and I've had back issues for a very long time and a couple of surgeries behind me. And my right side of my body didn't quite figure this out until the last time I had to go to the physical therapist. My right side of the body, because of nerve damage and stuff, is a bit weaker than the left side. And I've started having knee issues. I think I had a minor meniscus tear on my right knee right before SSK. Not this year, but the year before. And so my knee was messed up for several months. And kind of figured out while treating that injury that a whole bunch of like little muscles and stuff are kind of much weaker on my right side than they are on my left side. And I've definitely learned that if I go without spinning on a regular basis for like a month, that muscle gets weak. And then my knee and my hip start giving me problems. So regular spinning is really good for me.
Well, you even said that some
but
of
it
the
hurts
physical...
when I pick it back up if I've let it go, because that muscle's weak and I've got to strengthen again. But it's like this little muscle right above my knee on the outside that I use when I'm treadling. And spinning keeps it in shape.
Well, you have said that the physical therapy that you did in terms of moving your ankles and your knees and your feet was very similar to some of the actions that you do while you're spinning. And it stretches it in just the right way. So whenever anybody gives you a hard time about wanting to, get that meditation alone time doing some spinning, just tell them it's your physical therapy.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's true. And what's fascinating to me is that it is healthy for you beyond the mental health aspect of it, beyond the spending time to do it. It's actually got a physical.
Yeah, because there are plenty of people who have back and leg and knee and ankle problems who can't treadle.
Yeah.
That is detrimental. But for me, thankfully, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And Gab showed us a video today where we learned about a mythical creature who, due to spinning, has a very large single foot because she uses a
single treadle.
A single treadle. But before we get into that, we've got a question from Amy. What are your thoughts on rewinding bobbins before plying?
I'm a fan.
Is that it? That your only thought?
I think that rewinding bobbins at a distance, so like putting your bobbin far away and rewinding onto another bobbin is a really good idea, because it evens out the twist over a larger period of fiber. And so really when you're spinning, the twist only really equalizes in the space between your hands and your orifice.
So, at best, maybe a foot.
Yeah. And it definitely makes a difference for me for like large spins, especially. I'll do it. But if you're going to do something like a chain ply where any little differences in twist consistency are going to show up.
Twist inconsistency.
Twist inconsistency. It's a good idea. Like it's never going to be a bad thing. Sometimes it may be more necessary than other times.
Well, so, and you're talking about like going, 5-10 feet away, right?
Yeah, like as far as you can. I usually do probably at least 5 feet.
And incidentally, that also, there's been a couple of times that I have completely added twist because at the end I was like, you know what? I was just trying to blast through this, and I didn't have enough twist to really get something that was a stable yarn.
A chance to re-examine your singles and be like, maybe I need less twist in this. Maybe I need more twist in this. If you're taking it off and it's constantly pigtailing, maybe you should take some twist out of that.
Which you can do.
You can run it back through, go in the opposite direction, take off a little bit of twist, crank up that tension, and just rewind it really quick, but going through orifice, if you rewind in line, then you're not going to change the amount of twist. It's only if you're perpendicular.
So, okay, just to clarify for everybody, if you're going to add a remove twist, you've got to basically respin it or re-unspin.
Go through the orifice and the flyer all over again.
And you don't want to. You're basically just going to guide it through very quickly.
Yes.
With a lot more tension on it, not in this slow time where I'm adding a ton of twist to it to begin with.
If you're rewinding bobbins, you want to feed off from the side, not from like the top.
Yeah, so in that case, you're not going through the orifice. Or you can use a bobbin winder, right? That's
right, you can use a bobbin winder, but don't like put it on like a stick and have it feeding up. Like you need it to feed off the side onto the bobbin winder.
Hopefully that was clear as mud.
It's not really clear. A diagram would be helpful in this situation.
You know what we need to do is we need to have like a whiteboard whenever we do the education segments of this. And then we have to play rock, paper, scissors to figure out who's going to stop spinning to draw.
Yeah.
So Amy says, cool, that was basically my plan. During sleeve break tomorrow, my bobbin stash is at the ready. Incidentally, there's also the aspect of letting your singles rest, right?
Yep.
So you want to talk a little bit about that so I don't put my foot in my mouth?
Well, the more time that your single sits on the bobbin, not really doing anything, that twist kind of goes dormant, even though it's totally there. Nothing's actually happened to it, but it's kind of settled. I'm
assuming the fibers are having like microscopic changes at that point, basically.
It gets woken up back again by water.
Okay. But if they are a little bit more dormant, then it's easier to ply.
Then it's easier to ply because they won't kink up on themselves. However, what's important is if you're going to do that, while your singles are still fresh, do a plyback sample. So if you're going to aim for a balanced yarn, you know what a balanced yarn looks like.
That's a good idea.
Because once they've sat there for any amount of time, and then you pull out, the plyback is not accurate.
Interesting.
You have to do a plyback. And I don't think we've talked about it this well. To do a plyback, you actually do need to, we actually figured out, if you're on a flyer lead wheel, you actually have to pull off from the bobbin.
Yeah, so where I am right now, the classic thing people will do is they'll take this and they'll do this and they'll let it go like this and they're like, hey, there's my plyback sample.
That is not actually accurate for a flyer lead wheel.
What you need to do is make sure that you get stuff off the bobbin that has already been on there, that's already sat there, pull it out.
I can break this and make a plyback sample.
But it's a from there.
Good amount of twist.
And then you get a little bit more. And, can you lean forward, please? You're on my fiber. I mean, you could take all that fiber, but I don't know if you can easily tell from there, but the plyback sample that I pulled off the bobbin is pretty different from the plyback sample that is from what I've just freshly spun.
And that goes into complex mechanics of what's actually going on with a flyer lead wheel when you release twist lock and it winds on.
And that's for a book.
That's for a book. I spent a very obsessed couple of weeks figuring that out this past year between Plyaway and Maryland Sheep and Wool.
Yeah, we did a lot of diagrams.
Yes. And lots of heated discussions with other people that I trust their opinion on spinning.
Yeah. Let's see, what else we got going on? Oh wait, I was talking about now I gotta make sure I get the name right.
Yes. Mythology.
Yes. Frau Persta. Frau Persta is a goddess of European
Germanic?
Well, Scandinavian,
okay.
Germanic, Austria, Switzerland, all that region, where it's actually blended into another thing that you wanted to talk about in terms of the fact that you are not supposed to weave right now.
No, you're not supposed to. No, we're supposed to be spinning right now.
You're not supposed to weave.
What do you mean? Right?
So you're supposed to make sure you have all of your spinning done by the 12th day of Christmas, January 6th.
No. You're supposed to have all your spinning done, all your work done by Christmas. And then there's the 12 days, which are rest. And the 12 days of Christmas end on Epiphany.
Okay, well, so the thing about Pershta is that on Epiphany, on January 6th, right? She comes by and determines if you have done your quota of spinning, if you've spun enough flax or wool for the year. And if you've been a good boy or girl, and they didn't have the non-binary description or anything in there, but if you've been a good child and done sufficient spinning, then she would leave a silver coin in your shoe. If you hadn't done sufficient spinning, she would take all of your half-spun projects and stomp on them and burn them. And then if you were really bad, then she would come into your bed at night and slit your stomach open and replace your entrails with rocks and twine and straw.
Yeah.
Because apparently murder
Frau
is
Pershta is
okay
making
then.
sure you've spun down your stash.
Yeah. So, we're just helping you do your job and making sure you guys don't get murdered by a witch goddess.
Yeah.
12 days later here. So yeah, we're cool if you end up taking a lot of time to finish your base 12, but maybe Pershta is not so much. We were fascinated about this. It first caught our ear when Gab was listening to a YouTuber that was talking about all sorts of different holiday mythologies, and the one about Pershta came up, and just the giant foot from the spinning was fascinating.
You can't actually alternate which foot you use on a single treadle wheel.
You can't, or you can?
You can.
Yeah. Well, don't tell that to me. Tell that to Pershta.
She can just stop by and give me my silver coin.
There you go. We'll have to. Has Gab done any spinning this year?
I don't know.
They
might have to do some spinning before.
Yeah, gotta make sure that they don't get their entrails replaced.
Yeah,
with
they've
rocks.
done a lot of crochet this year.
They have. Maybe that'll be sufficient. But there was something specific about the reason why I was talking about the whole weaving thing is that apparently on Epiphany is when you're supposed to set up your loom. And that you need to have enough.
Oh, so I don't have to set up my loom till Epiphany?
Right. Because that's what you do for setting up your project for the year or something. And you need to make sure that you have enough spinning so that you can do your warp and your weft.
Ah.
See, I knew what I was talking about a little bit.
Okay.
The interwebs educated me a little bit. Now whether or not it's correct, I have no clue. Stephanie says, by the way, that I saw someone once use both feet on a single large treadle.
Yep, that's also allowed.
Yeah, I've actually seen like super wide treadles that were clearly intended for that. I mean, the mechanism necessary for a dual treadle wheel is actually kind of complicated.
Double treadles are a more modern invention. There are wheelwrights that argue that single treadles are much more efficient than double treadles.
Efficient in what sense?
The amount of power you have to put into the system. But I think that's based on stuff that disregards modern, like, sealed bearings and stuff like that.
Well, I think it would also depend more on the attachment point to the wheel than it is on
because there's a lot of different ways to make double treadles. There's double treadles that are basically still a single treadle, but the other treadle kind of helps push the other treadle in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So, Jill, what are you wearing?
I am wearing, I think this is an everyday raglan sweater by Joji Locatelli. I did not knit this. This is another sweater from my friend Rebecca. It's actually hand spun. It is hand spun from my fiber. It is a marl of 2 plies of Space Unicorn and a ply of turquoise. And then turquoise is a 3 ply for the like cuffs and the neck. However, she knitted up and she has princess skin. And so the little bits of trilobal nylon from the Space Unicorn bothered her. And so I gave her a sweater quantity of yarn in exchange for this sweater.
I think it was a great deal.
I won.
Great deal indeed.
Though she did knit up the yarn for that sweater quantity and has kept that sweater.
Oh, so. Good. Do you know what yarn she used? Do you remember?
It was a whole bunch of superwash Targhee Sport.
Which that works well with her princess skin.
Yes.
Yeah. And I am wearing an interesting sweater. We have no idea what the pattern is. We have no idea what the yarn is. We have an inkling that it's probably acrylic, but this is one that my grandmother knit. My grandmother,
for your dad.
My grandmother knit it for my dad, which is why it is woefully oversized for me. But my grandmother passed away shortly before Christmas. How many years ago now?
Oh gosh, we were still in
I
school.
don't know.
So probably 20 years ago.
20 years ago, that long?
Probably almost 20 years ago.
So, but she lived in Chile, and she's the reason that I actually took up knitting. And I can tell that sob story as well, but just to close the loop on the sweater. So this, my mother gave me my father's old sweater just last week, and I figured this would be a great way to wrap up the wearing of hand knit sweaters. So it doesn't fit, but it is special to me. So by the way, Donna notes that her ankles and feet get a better workout from double treadle, and it helps her walk better. So that goes along with the whole exercise thing that you were saying.
Yep.
So, yeah, sob story about me
Yes.
learning how to knit. So when my grandmother passed away, she had been knitting slippers for everybody in the family every year. Little slippers, in Chile we call them patitas. And I would always love getting a new set of slippers from my abuela. And when she passed away, no one was going to take over that tradition, so I decided I would. So that first year, I tried to knit some slippers, and I kid you not, the first slipper I knit was about this big. Clearly not great. I was learning knitting from a book, but at least, I mean, it actually was functional and it was shaped like a slipper. And, but it was clearly not. I had not learned my lesson of a gauge swatch yet.
Yes.
Or had more.
Or
than
that
like,
you needed to use smaller needles because your gauge is
because I had a single pair of needles, right?
Yeah.
Then I was working on other projects, and it took me probably about 10 years to actually get around to actually knitting everybody in the family a set of slippers.
Yeah.
And I was not retired, so I haven't done that again since, but I probably should. I really should pick that up again. Because I know that My nieces, even though they live in California, they very much appreciated the slippers, and I think I could knock them out a lot faster
You
now.
probably could, and we've kind of learned that good old-fashioned iron acrylic is actually really good for these slippers. Because I've tried to make them out of nicer wools, and they just don't hold up, or they felt.
Yeah, and this is one of those cases where acrylic is actually probably really good, especially
For gift knitting.
Especially for gift knitting of slippers in California, because you don't want nice warm wool slippers in California, but acrylic ones would probably work out really well. So yeah, there's my story of how I learned how to knit, and then I taught Jill how to knit. And you taught me how to spin.
Yep.
And the rest is history.
Yep. Because my dad taught me how to crochet when I was laid up for a back surgery, because that's what he learned when he was laid up for a back surgery in his 20s. My mom also crochets too, but both my parents crocheted. And then from there, yeah, Nick taught me how to knit. And then I tried to convince Nick to learn how to spin, and that failed. So I did. I learned how to spin, and then he came around. And then I've learned to weave.
I wonder why it failed originally for you to teach me, or for you to get me to spin.
You were busy.
Is that it?
Yeah, you weren't even really knitting much at that time, because we had babies, and
Was that when I was
I think
working
we
at
had so I think that was 2011. We had a 1-year-old and we had a 3-year-old, and you were working at a job that was driving you nuts.
Yeah.
So you weren't crafting much at that time.
Stephanie, by the way, is saying that our stories are so wholesome. We try. All right, so what else? What else is there to talk about?
I don't know.
Have we really just...
Well, so we kind of have plans for how we're going to ply, right?
Yeah. I'm going to do 2-ply, right?
Yeah.
Where did my other bobbin go?
It's somewhere around
it's back
here.
there.
So we've got to ply. And then this yarn has to sit for like a year, because we still have to
You were saying?
show off.
We still have to show off.
We still have to figure out something for last year's project. We could kill 2 birds with 1 stone and combine the years.
Well, you know, that works out pretty well, because we haven't figured out what to make with just that one. I mean, maybe if we combine 2 or 3 base 12s, we could actually have a sweater's quantity worth.
We'll have to see what the grist is like.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be all over the place.
To see if we spun similarly to last year.
Let's see. Donna says, speaking of weaving, can you direct warp a 4-harness table loom?
Yes, you can. If you have a long room, you can direct warp. I saw a PBS, like Craft in the Americas. There was one where they were talking with a weaver, and he direct warped a 4-harness loom, floor loom.
Can you explain for the rest of us that don't know what the heck direct warping is?
Direct warping is that when you're measuring out the warp, you are like attaching one end of your warp to the back beam, and like threading. You might be threading heddles at the same time as you're warping. You've seen me direct warp a rigid heddle.
Okay. Yeah.
Where I like clamp the rigid heddle to one side of the table and then have a peg on the other side.
Yeah.
That's direct warping. You're not like warping on a warping mill or warping board and then having a very long loop that you then transfer to the loom. There's no transfer. You're directly looping around the back beam.
Okay.
Or front beam. I guess you could do a front to back dressing as a direct warp or a back to front.
I think I understand the words.
We were talking about that.
We're talking about the language being problematic. So Stephanie, by the way, asks, "What's on the shelf tonight?"
So what's on the shelf tonight?
I will bring it closer, and Jill, you can describe it.
Is something that was part of a couple things I made for my very only time. Raku pottery traditionally is white, but then there's black crackles where they apply horsehair during the so raku, they take pottery out of the kiln and then apply some sort of organic matter, traditionally horsehair, to it, and then they smother it while it's still hot, and they smother it in an anaerobic environment. And so it's typically white with these black crackles. And so I was trying to imitate that in a crocheted piece. And so
Okay, apparently there was some delay in the data, and they missed what you were telling about the bowl.
Okay.
So, start again.
Okay, so the bowl. It's one of a couple pieces I made for my one and only exhibition in an art gallery. And the art gallery was Fiber and Fire. So it was a mix of fiber art stuff and things that were fired, so glass and ceramics. And so I decided for that piece to imitate raku pottery, which is a technique where you take stuff from the kiln, you apply some sort of organic matter, traditionally horsehair, onto the piece. That burns off and leaves black carbon on as part of the glaze, while the rest of it turns white, and then you extinguish it in an anaerobic environment. So the look of the basket is to mimic raku pottery and is actually made with a core spun that included black horsehair. And then, so it's a basket that's made by crocheting over rope to provide the structure.
And then do you want to talk about this one as well? Because this is from the same exhibit.
No, it's not from the same exhibit.
It's not?
That's one I made before. No, that one is from the same exhibit. Yeah. So that one's, yeah, so it's the same type of technique with hand spun, and the top bit is art core spun. And so it's supposed to mimic pottery that has usually a black base and then a metallic rim glaze.
Yeah, and we have another one somewhere around the house.
Yeah,
it's not here.
It's simpler. These
are the two cooler
Those
ones.
are the better pieces. Yeah. But it was trying to take fiber form and make it look like a type of pottery.
Donna is saying they're beautiful.
Thank you.
Stephanie is saying very neat. So one of the other things I was going to do, one of the things that I love about these bobbins is that you can see what you've spun. So since I'm waiting for
yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm just giving you a hard time. I can show you the.
So those are the worms.
Make sure. Well, not necessarily, right?
That's your bobbin.
This is my bobbin.
My bobbin. You can also do that.
This is my first half. I've got a solid bobbin on the second one. So these are the worms. This is the first half. That actually looks very similar. Almost eerily similar. I had a couple of cools in there, though. Yeah. And then Jill has a wonderful 3D printed bobbin from AccuWorks that she's spinning now. So when she finishes, we can show that off. I think there might have been some variation in the quantities that
I think so, too.
Us. Because there's no way I'm that much of a better spinner than you.
I took a lot of breaks to explain things.
Stephanie asked, would you guys consider doing a Base 12 follow-up where you ply the finished singles?
Not tomorrow.
Well, we would actually probably have to do it multiple days because it takes a while to ply them all up, right? Like, I remember at least watching a movie's worth of something.
Yeah, we would probably... at least 2 nights.
You know what we should do?
Should we do that on January 6th, which is St. Distaff's Day, too?
Well, maybe, but I was going to say we should find some movie that's out of copyright, and we can apply to that and make commentary.
Or we could just plan on doing this on St. Distaff's Day and fly.
Or we could do that. What you said.
It would probably be a longer time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could at least start the playing. I don't know if we could do the full.
Yours will take longer than mine.
What's that?
2 play takes longer than 3 play.
Oh, yes. Very true. Very true. Lenora, by the way, is commenting that maybe I am not necessarily better, but just faster in this case. But I mean, when you're racing, aren't the two the same? And I'm looking at my my angle of twist here to make sure it's pretty consistent. I think actually I'm pretty happy with
how you've been spinning.
With how I've been spinning. I mean the thickness is actually, yeah, it's pretty consistent even then. Yeah, I think I did pretty good this time. I would actually venture to compare it. I'll actually be really excited to compare it with
last year's.
Yeah. When you are designing your fibers,
yes,
do you have a particular method of spinning or wraps per inch that you would say is ideal for that specific design?
Sometimes. I've been trying to design so that it works for most whatever you could throw at it. What?
I accidentally took a sip from yours.
Well, I'll take from yours.
Sorry, you were saying.
But like there are ones that, like Lollipop Swirl, it's really best spun from the fold. But if you spin it from like the tip, and even if you spin it thin, you get something that's very different, but still very pretty. It's beautiful mud.
Kind of like that mud that has the pool of oil sitting on the top of it. That's rainbow swirl.
It looks very autumnal.
Yeah. But it doesn't have the bright pop of color.
No, it doesn't have the bright pop of colors.
So you are considering the idea of spinning from the fold versus spinning from the tip in terms of how much blending
I don't expect like if you're spinning a Merino Shetland Sari Silk blend, I'm not expecting it to be a super fine single. It's going to be textured. It's going to be more middle of the road. Mm-hmm. And so I actually do more color blending, rounds of blending on that, so that the Sari Silk doesn't throw as many slubs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the colors are going to be more uniform, and the point is the colors are going to be uniform and mixed and not distinct.
Would you consider putting recommendation of spinning method and
no, because I don't like telling other people what to do. And I feel like by doing that, people would not surprise me. And I love it when people surprise me. I love it when people do stuff with my fiber that I would never do myself.
Yeah. Because a lot of times it comes out really nice. We love seeing the stuff that you guys do.
Now, if you want to be like, hey, like, how would you spin this? I'm happy to tell you how I would spin it. But you should not take that as how you should spin it.
Wise words. Okay, you're getting close to the end, so I am going to show off my bag because I've got a little bit to talk about with the bag.
Yeah.
So, I have completed my bag. I since it was our decision to supply you only with 3 markers, I restrained myself to 3 colors. But I discovered either yesterday or day before that actually these markers blend really well. So my teal and my yellow it came out with this really neat green because I ended up a situation where I had a building that was I had to color this either teal, yellow, or purple, and it was going to be right next to everything. And when I mixed the teal and the yellow together, it came out pretty well. So yeah, this is my bag. I actually really like doing this. I thought this was not only from a design standpoint was really fun to
And
have
it was
the 12
going to be
things
much
color.
simpler than making lots of different colored houses ourselves.
Yeah, doing the printing.
Which was the original idea.
But I really liked this, how this turned out. This is my bag. This is my custom special bag.
Nobody else has one like it.
And I love it. I think we got to do this next year.
So then,
up there.
there's that. These are much more similar colors. There's a smell of burning plastic from my bobbin.
Oh my God, yeah. You were really cooking there, literally.
I need to lube my shack.
Stephanie, let's see. Kathleen says, if you tell me what to do, I'll just do something even further from that. It's just how my brain works. There's a word for that.
Oppositional defiance.
Yeah.
We know very well how that works.
And Stephanie says, see, you learned something new even when you guys just vamping. I never spin from the fold, just not my default. So I wouldn't automatically think to do that for Lollipop Swirl or something similar. Kathleen says, that can be seen in the spinning this year. I just plied wound off. It's times like this that I wish that you guys could show us some of the stuff that you're doing. This, obviously, YouTube is not the right
share on
venue.
the
but
social media and tag us.
share on Discord, share on the social media.
And because I've got to be me, my last one I filled in was with a black marker, which none of you guys got black markers. But I filled in that one.
All right, so
I'm the only one with a black building right there.
And their black building looks like it just wasn't made
Yes.
different. So you only have 11 days, really.
Yes.
But here we go. Thank you for joining us, guys. This is
Super fun.
simultaneously stressful and really enjoyable, and I'm always glad we do it and always stressed out beforehand. But thank you for joining us. If you weren't joining us live, thank you for watching us. Thank you for watching through all of this. Please.
And thank you for a really amazing year for Hipstrings.
Yeah, that's true too. You're making it so that my dream of quitting my day job is actually a potential reality. But we're really happy. We hope that you guys please continue engaging with us on the Discord, on the YouTube comments, on the Instagram, on the Facebook.
Yep.
The Facebook.
The Facebook. In person.
In person, we actually do exist. We are three-dimensional beings, four-dimensional if you count time. Yeah, I'm going to see if there's more opportunity to spin in virtual reality. Maybe we can have augmented reality spin in knit nights today. But anyways, thank you. This has been a blast. And you want to say?
No, it's time for a dad joke.
Oh, shit. Yes, that's right. Let me see if I can remember it. Why was E the only letter of the alphabet to get a present?
Why?
Because the rest were not E. And as Stephanie's saying, happy Base12, you all. Thank you and good night. We'll see you sometime next time. Good night.